There's some mental ward in Michigan where 11 through 18-year-olds are being put there, the women, and they're all being raped, abused, and recorded. There's 40 lawsuits coming out of it. So what better place to be a predator, right? If they tell on you or say that you did this, then everyone can just say, well, you're bipolar, you're diagnosed with this, that's why you're in here, you tried to kill yourself. And it seems like the predators find these places, you know? They find these places where people are vulnerable and weak, and they prey on them.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Through the Mirror. Tonight we wanted to talk about something that had come up that we feel like is really important to discuss and kind of bring to people's awareness of stuff that's going on. There was a recent exposure, there was an article written exposing what they're calling a pretty much a global academy where men are going on this website and posting videos and instructions and stuff on how to drug and sexually abuse their spouses, and literally giving instructions on how to do this, what drugs to use and stuff like that. And it was really alarming, the stuff that was coming out in this article and a lot of the victims and their stories and stuff. So we just wanted to talk about that and kind of give our perspective on the whole situation. I mean, initially, obviously, it's really just sick, twisted, and disgusting what's going on with this. Initial thoughts, Andrea?
Lots of bats. I first came across it, I think, a few days ago. I know it's been going on a while, but this one, I guess, was newer and it exploded online. And we're not going to name the websites in this because that's not helpful. And even if you're just curious, I don't recommend Googling that and searching that or even contributing to what is on that website. But it just really shows the decline. We've talked about pornography and addictions and stuff here before, but this is like beyond that. And Trey's kind of shared on that too. Like some of these people get into pornography or into these addictions, and then nothing is ever enough. And you just kind of want to sit here and think maybe some of the most broken and darkest people get in, started with pornography, or end up doing, you know, pedophilia related content. And in this case, it seems like another group turned to drugging their partners and getting off on them not knowing what was happening to them. Some of the stuff goes back to 2018 in another country. And then the newer stuff is just a website where they're uploading, doing these acts to supposedly the people they love, which is just really sick and twisted. And it just kind of sheds light on how, people. I saw some comments online because some people were sharing about it, slides and posts, and and this isn't a big deal. That it's just some people have different kinks. Their wives probably consented to it. All this kind of just making excuses for this behavior. And even if someone did consent to it or whatnot, if that was the case, which I don't see any proof of that anywhere, excuse this. Like there is no excuse for it. It's not a fantasy. It's not a kink. It's predatory, organized evil, and something that, these victims and the women on there, they're claiming they don't make some of the stories going back. They were confronted by the cops and had no idea what their spouse had been doing to them. And just really to shine a light on the fact that, when you participate in this stuff or you make excuses for it, that it doesn't go away. It doesn't get taken care of. It doesn't get stopped. If there is a way for these people to be helped that are in this, like they need help. And even these men, if this is a temptation for you, because there were some men on there saying they wish they could do that but couldn't, like you really need to get help. Like you are really twisted inside. And that level of darkness leads to harming others in more ways than you can imagine, such as this situation going on.
And this wasn't just a small issue. Like people, like you said, people were, oh, it's not that big of a deal, or it's just, this small thing. They said, what, in a month's time, there was 66 million visitors to this website. So that's a lot of people. This isn't some small, isolated little group of people thing, right? So this is obviously a big thing that is attracting a lot of men. There was nothing that said men versus women, but men are uploading this stuff. There's no, so I'm just going to, that's definitely primarily men on this. But
I mean, yeah, I don't see anything on there where women were drugging their husbands and doing this.
Right, right.
So anyone making a stupid argument like that, like, needs help because that's not what's happening.
That's just anybody who would say that, it's just projection and not wanting to, you know, think ill or all men's aren't capable or aren't all responsible. It's just projection. But obviously it's a really big problem. And I personally think, we have talked about pornography on the show in the past and talked about how, it's a pornography becomes a progressive issue. Things get progressively worse, whether you're starting off something very simple or what would be considered not as bad, and then next thing you know, you're getting into more abusive, deeper, darker, more twisted things to get the same type of dopamine hit. I do believe at some point you cross the line of trying to get a stronger fix, so to speak, to more sadistic, twisted domination, just wanting to control somebody. And it goes beyond just I'm looking for that dopamine hit, right? Because this is all about domination. It is all about control. And when men get to this point and go this deep and dark, it's really boils down to they're not able to control themselves, their own mind and their own life, and they feel like they're spiraling out of control. So the only sense of control they can get is by trying to control others. And what stronger way, more powerful way to dominate somebody than when they are a woman when she's completely unconscious. I mean, that just is next level, and it goes well beyond just a pornography addiction, in my opinion.
I mean, it's sexual assault. I mean, in rape, that's what it is. Like, it doesn't there's people on there saying, "Well, they're married, this and that." No, that's rape, that's not consent. And the women didn't remember, or didn't know either. So some of the victims in the previous one, because there was 3 websites listed or group chats. It had been going on for like 5 years, and she had no idea.
Yeah.
Um Or like the one woman said that she was taking some kind of medication and she would like have unexplained blackouts and ask him what happened. And he would just say that she's not taking drugs right. And it's all like, would gaslight her. And that victim's husband ended up killing himself before the trial. So it's just a lot of devastation. And I just saw, I think Teal Swan posted it, but mental health is like the biggest number one crisis now over cancer. And you see that expressing in how society is going in the direction to where something like this is happening and it's online. And you can just go type in the website and all of it comes up. And it's legal because it's acceptable and it's complicated because it's worldwide. It's not attributed to just the US alone. The victims would have to come forward and press
Right.
charges for something to be done about it. But if the victims don't know something happened, how are they supposed to do that? So this can continue.
Yeah, and that's really twisted in and of itself. Like you've gotten to the point where, there's some pretty taboo, twisted things out there when it comes to pornography that the stuff women even will do. And the whole thing, well, they can't prove that because I was seeing people say, well, you can't prove that she wasn't faking or that, she was actually unconscious and this and that. And that's why it's legal for these websites to be up. It would take a victim actually coming out and saying, "No, I don't know about this," and then you're fighting a whole legal battle, and it's this whole thing
Mhm.
to where you're making it very difficult. And I
I mean, I'll add
read,
another layer there. Maybe they do find out and they don't come forward because if the person was willing to do this, they probably understand that he would probably kill them or abuse them worse. Like women don't come out in these situations often and ask for help or get help because it's so scary to try to escape or leave, or
oh
they're
yeah,
stuck in such an abusive pattern that there is no mental way for them to seek clarity or realize that it's worth the risk to escape and to get help and
Mhm.
attempt to get away from the monster they're with.
Well, in one of the story, she tried to get help from local law enforcement, and they initially, said she was faking, like, and didn't believe her. So she even got brave enough to ask for help. And I think this was one of the ones over in Europe. But, you know, the amount of courage it takes to say something in the first place and then to not even be able to trust the system to help you, that's pretty much enabling. I mean, I don't like this wasn't just men doing this, recording it and posting videos. So that's where the whole argument came in. Well, they can't prove that it wasn't, that it wasn't staged or faked or acting, but you actually had, they called it and I'm not even going to say the word, I'm just say abuse academy is what they were calling it. And you literally had these men teaching other men how to do this, what drugs to use, how to not get caught, dosages, all these different things. So,
And they were exchanging things to do to the
right.
person.
So,
Like in
and
a big buddy group chat. Like it
in a
was
buddy
the
group
best thing
chat,
ever.
there was payments being, hey, what do you want me to do? Pay this and that. So at what point, and if this is some kind of legal loophole, man, somebody needs to be on this fixing it at the federal level, because I don't think, like, you can't
Because that's like
sit there,
prostitution.
right, and you can't
Mhm.
just sit there and be like, if somebody was online teaching people how to, murder and do all these other things, like that's just, there can't be that. Like that takes it to a whole nother level than just making the argument. It's just acting like all pornography is, which,
Yeah, and I think
newsflash, a
even
lot of
deeper,
it's not acting, by the way. A lot of it is just straight up
that's one of the
abuse.
biggest hubs of trafficking.
Hmm.
But even deeper to the on law enforcement, I mean, going to family when this stuff is going on, because some of the women in the testimony said that people were in there, even their families, like, well, that's your husband. You just like maybe talk to him, this and that, or it's your fault. People don't want to get help and come forward when they see that happen to everyone around them. The
Hmm.
real victim gets blamed for what happened, gets accused of lying, all those things. Like that needs to stop too in society because it happens all the time. I have sat with so many people that have shared those stories how, oh, I probably should have got out 5 years ago, but I didn't have support. I got called crazy. It was really scary because nobody believed me. This stuff enables abuse. It enables predators.
Yeah. No, well, and you think it's all these, gray areas and legal loopholes and everything that does embolden men to do this or continue doing it, or even let's say they wouldn't do it, but we're fantasizing about it. It's like, oh, well, maybe I can do that now because not, I think it's good that a light was shined onto this and there's a lot of awareness coming around it. But on the flip side of that, because not a whole lot is actively being done on a
Mhm.
legal level, it's kind of a double-edged sword because now you have a lot of people going, so only if the abused person, says something or reports me or fights this legal battle will I get in trouble, not the fact that I'm just doing this online or talking about it online. So now you have more sick, twisted people coming out of the woodwork, I guarantee you, researching it, starting to dabble into it just because now it's getting, worldwide attention, but
Well, and
not a whole
I
lot's being done.
I think a big part of that, I posted this, I think it was yesterday or the day before. When your entire world governments are being proven to be ran by people mixed in like the Epstein stuff and
Hmm.
pedophiles and et cetera, or just rapists, period. It's not all attributed to just pedophilia. Those examples of no justice trickle down into society. So when you don't be surprised when you see the little small versions of the same pattern becoming, well, nobody's going to do anything about it. They're definitely not going to notice because, well, it's just little old me. I'm sure
Hmm.
they'll blow up people in the celebrity circle, even though they're like Diddy and stuff, but nothing even has gotten done
Yeah.
about that. So you'll have the pattern just repeat, and then it goes down to these ways. The one thing about this that makes it a little bit more difficult and different is you don't have conscious awareness. The victim may not even know what's been happening to them. In the articles, there was a therapist going through, they're saying this is like psychopathy and narcissism. So they're really good at already manipulating, gaslighting, telling the person they're crazy if they suspect anything. And if they've been in that long enough, they're stuck there. They're not going to know how to handle it. They're not going to know what to do. So it's a perfect environment to get away with it. Like if you kidnap someone and force them into trafficking, half the time they're going to fight. They're definitely not going to sit there for a video as easily. I mean, it's not as simple. So this is a way to really get away with what you're doing because you can hide with, well, this is my wife, this is my spouse, my girlfriend. So they'll never suspect it because I just love bomb them every time I can and do this horrible stuff to them when they don't know. And every time everything's normal and everything's okay. Like one guy was just getting home from church with his family when there were cops to confront him and tell the wife what was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I want to touch on that too. Like a lot of these women that came forward were talking about how like they couldn't fathom that they were married to somebody who was capable of that. That
Mhm.
in and of itself is a big problem and very alarming that we have so many people not seeing the red flags, not seeing patterns unfold or what people were capable of because of however the not noticing love bombing, not noticing, patterns that
Manipulation.
could manipulation, the gaslighting, all that other stuff because somebody, and this is where I think people have a hard time, connecting these dots. Somebody who's capable, and not only capable, but intentionally trying to manipulate you, gaslight you, love bomb you, control you, dominate you in other ways in the relationship is capable of doing these other things. Whether they have or are, it's a possibility.
Mhm.
And you
Well, and
look at,
someone that claims to love this person isn't going to want to even think or see that. Like, that's
Mhm.
another problem in some of these dynamics is you don't want to see the person in that reality. You would tell yourself it can't be the case. And that just opens the door for more of it because they know that about you, right? They sit and wait and learn who you are. They learn what your weaknesses are and they prey upon them in order to get what they want.
so I mean, I think it also goes back and boils down to people need to realize that, we really have to start getting aware of these really glaring issues in society, especially with men, if you're a woman, and learning these red flags, learning what these signs are before, the whole rose-colored glasses spell of falling for somebody who's, just in it for themselves or to get something from you because you know it's not normal well, it's becoming normal in society, but it's not a good thing for somebody just to love bomb you out the gate and make you feel like you're the whole world right out
Or
the
that
gate.
they agree with you on every single thing and you never like,
Yeah.
there's so many things there.
Oh yeah, I
They all of a
love that
sudden like
too.
everything you like and
That's
yeah.
my favorite restaurant too, and I know we've only been dating for a month, but I couldn't imagine living without you, and you're just my everything, and then just this whole thing that it's like you have to realize that it's the reason some of this stuff is working is because women have a deep wound with themselves to want to be chosen and admired and selected like that, which is one of the reasons why that feels so good in that moment. Whether it be you weren't accepted by, you didn't get the love from a parent that you wanted, or really it boils down to not loving yourself or having that admiration for yourself that when somebody walks along and makes you feel like you're there, the sun in the solar system, and you keep like you feel accepted and wanted, and that's what sets you up
Well,
to fall
I
for
don't
all
think
this
it's
stuff too.
always it doesn't always mean there's someone that's wounded or had a bad childhood either. I think sometimes people don't have experiences. Some young woman doesn't have a grip on what the world's like for real or grew up around
Yeah,
kind men maybe
that's a good point.
and falls into that trap too because they just don't know. Like they've known this their whole lives. I mean, we like that one woman, Dr. Amani talked about that. She's like, not all the time did someone have like a bad childhood or past end up in this situation. Sometimes they didn't see it because they actually were used to the good. And this person mirrored that at them at first and they fell for it.
They didn't realize how, or can't fathom how somebody would be that dark, because they've never
And
seen.
if you're a person that has never been on that side, even in a little sense, like just like, we can use manipulators or narcissists as the example, I guess. You don't know how to see that perspective. It doesn't matter how hard you try, you would never be able to fathom that. So there's no point in trying, but there is a bunch of wisdom in understanding what that is and what that looks like and paying attention and having awareness. And if you don't have awareness to learn, if you even haven't been there, take it upon yourself to learn what that looks like and learn to see through it and trust your intuition.
Right. And I'll say there's no, for the side on the men on this whole thing, there's no way around the fact that you need help, like major help, and you have to sit there and have some really radical honesty with yourself that there's some deep rooted issues, and it's the only way to get through that is having radical acceptance that you have a problem and admitting that, because
Yeah, if
there's
you're fantasizing about that, if you commit that crime and what these men are doing, no, you can just go in a hole and go to jail.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you can
if
go
you
reflect there. I mean, there needs to be something done. There needs to be consequences in society for this if it's going to be on this scale.
mhm.
Because as long as there's no consequences, whether that be, I mean, yeah, they need help. Maybe there needs to be actual real help for people out there instead of like I saw today too, this other horrible story that came up with this topic. There's some mental ward in Michigan where 11 through 18-year-olds are being put there, the women, and they're all being raped, abused, and recorded. There's 40 lawsuits coming out of it in the mental institute.
A place where they're supposed to be getting help.
Well, we know that's not really gonna be the case, and
Yeah.
then they get to be called crazy because they've been diagnosed as crazy, so what better place to be a predator, right? Because if they tell on you or say that you did this, then everyone can just say, "Well, you're bipolar, you're diagnosed with this, that's why you're in here, you tried to kill yourself." And it seems like the predators find these places, you know? They find these places where people are vulnerable and weak, and they prey on them.
There has to be a standard, and everybody has to be held to that standard. And there is no, with this kind of stuff, like, and this has been said about pedophilia and all this stuff, it's like, oh, well, they just have a problem, we need to be understanding, or they just have their own thing. Like, no, I don't have to be understanding about that darkness, that wrongdoing, and society does not have to make up for your problems either. Like, you need to take ownership, and there has to be consequences to this and removed from
Being able to harm other people.
being able to harm anybody, and especially children, women. And we wonder why women always have this thing in the back of their mind of, man, am I safe walking down the street by myself? And
Mhm,
men will never fully understand that. Men will never fully grasp that, because that's not the world we live in.
mhm. And don't get me
Men don't
wrong, men
walk
get
in
abused,
fear.
but it's not the same kind.
It's
Like,
it's
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 not the
not the same
especially the
kind of
adults, I
abuse.
feel like there's a lot of male children that get raped and abused, and no one ever
Mhm.
knows the difference, and then they're adults and they need help too, but, yeah, I don't think women have a very big chance of attacking a man walking down the street, because a man is usually stronger.
Yeah, you just don't hear a story of 10 women jumping a man and sexually
Mhm.
assaulting him hit the evening news. It's just not a
Oh,
thing
wow.
that really happens. Not saying
Mhm.
it hasn't ever happened, but that isn't a problem like it is in reverse.
Yeah, and I
And
kinda can't stand I saw some stuff too from the religious, like, cloud talking about this all, and there's someone was like, "Well, it's women too, and they have to own their" I'm like, "This on this topic? No, we don't do that. You don't sit here and start trying to find this even" and yeah, in a way, I guess I could say this, if you these some of these men may have not had parents that loved them, that could
mm,
be part of the problem, and they mutated into these monsters, so yeah, I guess in the aspect, it's the parenting, the upbringing, what is going on here to where you hurt a child so bad they become this, they decide not to change and you repeat the pattern. But as for on this topic alone, like, this isn't OnlyFans, this isn't the porn industry. No, this is uploading rape and abuse, and it's being done to women. So to sit here and go, oh, well, women have, no, you're just, again, you're just taking away what's happening to a certain group of people in a big way. Because I think I saw the status the other day, it was 800 women I believe, die in a homicide and domestic violence, every 30 days or something like that. That's that's a very big gap between what's happening with
mhm.
men. So that needs to stop too. I'm tired of every topic has to be like this equality thing we try to make. Like, oh well, it's everyone have no. In this case, no, it's not equal.
Or men just not taking responsibility, period, because in every situation that you just listed, something is always said. Whether it's a woman walking down the street, they go, well, what was she wearing? and the domestic violence situation. Well, what
Mm,
did she do? Was she mistreating him? Was she being whatever? I mean, there is no excuse for doing this stuff. Even I don't care. You could be married to the very wicked woman, and I don't think there's any excuse to kill somebody. There is never an excuse
yeah.
to sexually assault somebody. There's never an excuse to sexually assault somebody, film it, drug them, and post it online and make money off of it. There's never a good reason to do this, period. I don't care what the woman did. It's just not that we have to get away from that. And it's mostly men speaking these things. And that is what that is men running from accountability.
Then there's like you said, like there's men fantasizing about doing this. Yeah, you need to get help right now. Like you still have a chance to like decide to change what you are and what you have going on inside of you. And I encourage you to get help. And we need men to get help because there's men already struggling with porn addiction and all these other addictions and women too. Go get help. And there needs to be spaces for them to get help. Like there's so much, we've talked about this before, but there's so much shame and degradation. It's like if someone's actually acknowledging they need help and they want to find a way to change, you need to take that on and celebrate that and help them if they're really seeking those steps, not shame and guilt them and sit there on your high horse telling them how bad they are. That's not going to work in this
Mhm.
situation. But people that commit crimes, commit rape, they can go get help with whatever cell they're going to sit in if justice ever happens. And that goes for like the Epstein stuff. Like, we're sitting here right now, loads and loads of proof of this entire plot to blackmail governments, countries, and whatnot, and nothing is being done about it. But the victims are sure ending up suiciding. The victims that
Mhm.
spoke out for years getting called crazy, getting called liars, getting accused of stuff, saying that, oh, they're just trying to make money. I mean, if they got paid off for their lives being ruined, that doesn't make them bad or not the victim still. Or if they were 20-something-year-old girl that didn't know what to do and just took money to shut up because she was afraid for her life, maybe? I mean, I could tell you from 20 years old to at least 30 years old now, I have a big perspective change from that time frame. So it's just there's all kinds of levels of this, but as long as there's excuses made, there's attacking the victims, blaming them for it, and all these things we see happening, this massive dysfunction, nothing's going to change. It's going to keep getting worse and worse because there's not enough people in the middle going, "Hey, this something needs done about this. This is a big problem in every aspect."
Well, and it's going to take a big portion of men standing up and saying no, this, and taking accountability, taking responsibility for the complete degrade in society. Because I don't, I don't care what men want to spout. Men have pretty much established society as it is and the hierarchy, how it's all played out, but yet wants to not take accountability for how bad things are in that regard as well. It's
Mhm.
like you can't have your cake and eat it too, like that. You either run things and it's everything that's going wrong is on you because you run things, or not. There was a point in time where men actually more protected and valued women as not something to own, but as something to cherish and admire and respect. And men need to really start getting back to that and recognizing that the path to many things that men want in relationships is actually through the exact opposite of what you think it is. Trying to control and everything. A lot of it is through giving and actually loving somebody and taking somebody else's heart as your own and doing what's in their best and you're in a woman's best interest and offering containment. And that's just, it's not. I will even say, and I'm going to piss off plenty of people on the right with this, it's not just finding somebody who will cook you 3 square meals, do your laundry, and keep your house clean for you, and do that whole traditional woman thing. No.
No, that's not even a traditional woman thing because if
Right,
we go
right.
back
That's a
100
that's
years,
that's
the
a lie.
traditional woman was handling everything while their husband was basically out of contact for 6 months at a time. Because, like, even the founding of our country, like, my one of my ancestors is Daniel Boone. In all the history books of his life that exist, he's gone for years at a time. You know what his wife was doing?
handling
handling
everything.
hunting, food. They didn't
Mhm.
have cell phones or internet or connection. They didn't even have their family around back then. Yeah. So
They
this
just
whole
hope to
idea
get
of
a
the
letter every
traditional
month or
woman
2.
is not even close to what it is today.
Right,
I don't
it
even know what
was
that's supposed to
hijacked.
mean anymore. Because those women were tough. Those women were carrying the world on their shoulders
Mhm.
for their families. And their men were out doing their best for their families too.
Well, it was a partnership. There was this exchange of, okay, hey, this is just what it takes to survive.
Mhm.
You know,
And to
we're
raise a
in a
family back then.
right, we're in a very, very convenient time in humanity where everything is very easy, very accessible.
Well,
I
and in
mean,
like our country, I mean, in other countries, it's not the case.
but if it wasn't too long ago that just having running water in your house was, in first world countries was just normal, or hot water for
Mhm.
that matter. Like we have it very, very good. We have it better than anybody in human history in that regard. Yet, like you it said, studies are now showing that the mental health is the worst it's ever been, and it's the biggest problem humanity's facing right now. But you had this partnership between a man and a woman go, okay, I'm going to do what I have to do to provide safety, containment, and do what I have to do for my family. And the wife would do the same on the other aspect, because it would take two people to do that and raise a family. And it's just, you can't take away all of the hard work that was put into that just because things are so much easier. And as far as we're not going out and hunting, and if you don't, catch any food that day, you're not eating. If your
Mhm.
garden in your backyard doesn't do well, you guys are going hungry. That's not the case anymore.
Well, I like the perspective our friend Ravi shared a while back. We were talking. He's like at least where he grew up in like Sri Lanka, he had brought up how like people don't have time to be distracted when you're literally your day to day life is making sure you have food and water and shelter and some like a job. And he's like,
Hmm.
over there, you didn't have like, especially back then, when at his age, they didn't have phones and all these things. And he's like, no one had time to make up crap in their heads about other people. No one had time to like, there was problems, don't get me wrong, and there was problems back in the '60s and whatever, but in certain aspects, we now have more distractions. You can sit online and compare yourself to people all day. You can have these political people and manipulators and politicians and whatnot on there telling everybody what a traditional family is when they wouldn't have a clue what being a family is or connection half the time if you know all their dirty little secrets. But they can post good long scripts of whatever they think life should be online. They never take ownership for how things are when they've been in spaces of leadership or been elected into office. So it's just, we keep putting up these like plastered pictures of what things should be to make it better when it comes down to connection, honesty, and honesty with yourself, really taking ownership of your lives, really choosing to do better. That's the key to a society. And it doesn't matter what that looks like to anybody else. It matters what two people agree upon and decide to do what's right for not just their family, and then expand out towards the people around them in their communities and in their lives.
And I think COVID had really exacerbated this problem too, because you talk about,
Mhm.
people didn't have time way back when to focus on all these problems and stuff like that. But then you had years of people literally having way too much time on their hands and not knowing what to do with themselves. So you see a drastic reduction in mental health and stuff since then, to where there's still people today, and COVID's been over for how long, but there's still people today sitting home not really doing much. So you have people, like you said, whether you're doom scrolling on your phone all the time, online, indulging in any and all addictions or coping mechanisms, and it's not that hard to see why things are so bad, why people are having such a hard time, and even why people think there's not really a lot of hope. I mean, there's the constant threat of nuclear war and doom, and things aren't going to get better.
Yeah, but again, someone like me and you, how does it help to focus on all the things that could go wrong and happen? Because I don't have control over who's got nukes very like beyond voting and opening my fat mouth some, like it's not worth me losing my hair over because there's not much I can do. And this
Right.
past a week ago, we had hail the size of tennis hit our house, which what we like pretty sure a tornado would go by too because we heard it and saw the wind and how it projected. During that, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't get the cars in. They couldn't stop what was happening. And afterwards, I told you, I was like, man, this was bad because we're going to replace the entire exterior of our house. Our two vehicles are badly damaged. And it was just like, instead of wringing our hands and getting in the chaos of it all, we're just like, okay, well, let's move on from here and figure it out. It happened. And there's nothing I can do about what happened. So going back and wringing my hands and crying or being like stuck in how bad this is, you can just move through it and navigate it. And this is life, raw reality, right?
But also, I would say to get to that point, though, people need to have a sense of purpose
Mm.
in their life. And when people feel like they don't have a sense of purpose and there's not really any reason to get up and be enthusiastic about the day, and they're not enjoying life, it gets very dangerous really quickly and people lose hope. And what's the point? So what's the way out of that? What's the way to get to the point of wanting to get up and enjoy life again? And with the way society is built right now, with technology, with what's going on, the political climate, even the economy, all these things, it's like everything is stacked against people finding the joy
Mhm.
in life,
Well,
finding their purpose, finding the drive, finding the will to want to make the most out of every single day, to achieve something. So, like, just to say,
or
if people,
achieve nothing because some of us, had to learn not to be chronic workaholics and try to avoid our
yeah, that,
entire being, and learn to sit and do nothing and achieve
yeah,
nothing.
find peace, just find peace
Just
in their
be at
life.
peace.
And the cards are stacked against everybody with that. And, people have to realize that that's not going to be easy. And I would say it's harder than ever to find that. And takes a lot of, takes,
Takes experience and choosing to be mindful and choosing to do the work and take what you learn and integrate it. And I think that's something me and you both are passionate about because we've gone through a lot of that. And people, seriously, like in this society and where we're headed, like the next generations, it's really looking kind of scary. I mean, there's a lot of good, but there's a lot of like we were talking, who were we talking about the other day? If people get drafted, like who's fighting your wars with all their allergies and mental health issues and on all these medications? Like the obesity rate's the highest it's ever been. Who's fighting?
I personally think that's why they're going so heavy into like AI and robots and that kind of stuff. Because the people who would go and fight a lot of these wars are a lot of the people who are like, hell no, like that aren't
Yeah.
really
But I mean, and
into
I agree
what's
with
going
them, but
on
I'm
too.
just saying, like, this idea you're gonna go start all these wars, like, we have the highest chronic health issue rate in the world here. We have the
Hmm.
highest amount of obese people, and I wouldn't want to go fight wars for criminals running our country anyway. But the point is, like, I don't think people have a grip on reality of how bad things are. And, you're talking about the neighbor lady was telling me how she's drank Pepsi with every meal since she was like 15. And I'm over here like, she doesn't look bad for being 85 and drinking Pepsi every day. And I'm over here like, man, I thought I was going to die from Burger King at one point if I ate it. Like you can see the health, how
Yeah.
our genes and our health has gotten so bad because this lady's 85 telling me how she eats McDonald's every morning and drinks 3 Pepsis a day. And I'm like, "Man, like, is this the fallout of the pesticides, the vaccines, all this stuff?" And I'm like, I'm, like, really healthy now, and I take care of myself." And I'm
Hmm.
like, to maintain this, and this woman's over here just popping Pepsis. I'm not saying she's super healthy now, but she's 85 years old.
Right, you have
Like,
people in their 20s
something
and
that
30s and stuff
right?
with chronic diseases already, in their life. So obviously
Mhm.
something's really happened health-wise, whether it's the food got worse, whether it's,
I mean, it
the
is the food
like you
got
said.
worse. Everything got worse, so, like Don't get me wrong, I still tried to tell this lady that she needs to not to drink that much Pepsi, but she said it doesn't matter anymore. She's dying soon. She's funny. I really enjoy talking to her. But it was just like, you think about that and it's like it hit me like, man, at one
Mhm.
point you could get away with eating this stuff and drinking this stuff and maybe even still could to an extent. Not that you should, but the gene pool and the toxicity and the stuff being passed down just wasn't as bad to where her body is holding it together at this age.
Right.
Like,
Well, and to another point I just thought about is, if you go back to a certain point in time when people were dealing or going through a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, there wasn't as many distractions available to keep you from having to sit with the uncomfortableness of your choices, decisions, lifestyle, or whatever you were going through, right? If you're off, like I guarantee you, going back to these guys filming their wives, they're not sitting every day having to sit with the full weight of what they did or what they're
I don't think
continuing
they
to do.
care. I don't think they care about what they did. That's the problem. Like, you have
They
turned off your morals and your empathy completely to
But
do that.
to get to that point, to even get to the point where you don't care about that anymore, there has to be a level of distraction where you're not sitting with the weight of the consequences or the guilt of what you've done or what you were doing. And people distract themselves all the time. Instead of sitting with that, oh, I'm watching TV, oh, I'm on social media, I'm playing video games, I'm drinking, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. There was a point
Mhm.
in time where there wasn't all these things. You had to sit with everything and you had to actually reflect on your day instead of just going that route with it.
Distractions, we have addictions, we have everything, but people need to speak up about it. Like, that's kind of surprised sometimes I see this stuff and it's like, if you can, you should say this is wrong, this is messed up. If you see it, you should chime in if the person is asking for help. I mean, I can't tell you how many times it seems like people just walk by a person that needs help or they know something's going on. I'm not saying go fix everything and save the world, but there's a lot of just looking away and not being observant of what's going on around you or what's going on in people's lives.
And I also think that's a societal problem too, because in a lot of regards, we do not encourage people to stand up and do the right thing with that kind of stuff.
No.
I would say you actually, in a lot of cases, you would get punished or, you're looked down upon if you do the right thing, if you stand up against
Mhm.
wrongdoings in a lot of cases. And you could actually get in trouble in some cases legally
Mhm.
for, standing up and inserting yourself in certain situations. I mean, we're at the point, it wasn't too long ago where everybody knew their neighbors. Like,
Mhm.
our grandparents, everybody knew everybody on the street. And
Mhm.
now you have, the millennial generation and younger where most people don't really know their neighbors and they can
Or maybe they
live
don't
and
wanna know their neighbors too, because you just never
well,
know anymore.
well, there's that too, but it's like it's normal for people to live in a neighborhood or even like a condo. Like you have, apartment buildings and condos and a lot of people in like more condensed living situations now, but people don't know their neighbors. They don't really introduce themselves like that. It's like people just don't have that. I mean, at one point it was normal to have
Mhm.
like a neighborhood like cookout or something where
Mhm.
every once a month or every other month or something like that, everybody got together in the neighborhood and just had a big party. That
Yeah,
doesn't really happen anymore. And
yeah.
for a couple, like you said, that some people you just don't know who you live next to anymore because it's gotten so bad.
Mhm.
But
And,
also,
I like to kind of know who's around. Like, we've gotten to know our neighbors the past few months moving here. But, you also find out that some people, they want to know people, they want to meet people, nobody wants to talk to them. Or nobody, like, especially the elderly, nobody wants to, they're like always shocked we go and talk to them. Like, no one's ever, like, you blew that lady's driveway off after the storm. And she was just like, I've lived here like 30 something years and no one's ever done that for me. Like, she thought it was like, she was like so happy about it, but she was like, wow. Why would you do that? Like, because now connection is so alien to people. Courtesy and just being kind is like people think, "Oh, what do you want?" Because you did that.
right, right. No, you can't even offer to help somebody load their groceries at the grocery store because one, it's dangerous. You don't accept
Yeah, I wouldn't let a
stuff
man
from,
help me load my groceries
you
these
don't
days.
because of how bad it is. But at one point, there was also that was just the kind thing to do, and
Mhm.
so people don't know really how to
Now
accept that. Or
someone might
again,
be
what's your
trying to
angle?
yeah. Now someone might be trying to scope you out and traffic your children when they come up to your vehicle, so you can't risk it.
Right.
That's the truth. Like even a woman, like you hear stories all the time where they're like they put drugs on like the handles of cars to knock the mom out and take their kids. That's the stuff you have to worry about. Like that as a mother, like I don't sit here worried anymore because I kind of have realized that, living a life of worry is not going to help your health. There's times where I'm in the parking lot, I'm looking around like, okay, yep, we're good. All right. All right, conceal carry. And it's like, I hope I never am in that situation. I hope I never need my concealed carry. But yeah, this is the stuff we have to think about now when we go out. You don't just get to go out and, oh, just going to the store with my kids. It's like, well, going out and have to pay really close attention to what's going on around me.
No, I don't think people realize just how high human trafficking is and the numbers, like how common it is. And human trafficking does not just mean sexual exploitation either. Human trafficking could
There's
be
organ trafficking.
organ trafficking. There's just labor like slavery
Mhm,
and stuff like that. I mean, there's human trafficking takes many different forms, but it's like, and people also think it's in like really bad areas. No,
no.
it's actually everywhere. It's in the nice neighborhoods, it's in the ritzy neighborhoods, it's in the middle class, upper class, and the lower class. It's all over the place. Actually, I was seeing studies where it's actually kind of the opposite. There's so much trafficking in good areas too, because that's where people least expect it. That's where people, oh, well, this is safe. This is a safe area. This is a safe neighborhood and stuff like that.
Mhm,
People let their guards down. People aren't just people aren't just letting their kids walk down the street anymore for good reason. I mean,
mhm.
people just drive up and and grab people without giving a second thought. I mean, there's the missing persons is worse than it's ever been.
I think it's just important that people start doing their part no matter what it is. And I mean, I say your life just in being in existence, the fact that you can breathe gives you a purpose. What that looks like is different for everyone, but don't waste it because there's so many people that waste their lives either being stuck in their pain, their man-made prisons, or becoming monsters, sadly. So you're better off realizing that you have a purpose, and sometimes you just need to find your footing to where that leads you.
It's really good. Well, I think it's getting to the point where, use the pendulum analogy a lot on the show, and it seems like it's swinging harder and harder on either side. And I think we're getting to a point in humanity where there's going to be some big make or break scenarios happening where the tables are going to turn on a lot of stuff, and people are going to have to start making some really tough decisions, or some very tough situations are going to be thrust upon normal people, because I mean, we can trace back some really bad corruption running the world for a very, very long time. And it's starting to get to that point of, something's going to give, you know,
Everything comes to a head over and over again. History repeats itself.
right. And I think we're very close to that next big tipping point, and where people going to be on that side of history. So we're almost to our hour here. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and if you guys enjoyed the video, please like, comment, subscribe, share it with a friend, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.